program. Project 2025 is pretty grim stuff, but there's a number of legislators who are, already putting into place some of its provisions, particularly at the state level. But here we've got Joe Manchin and Republican Senator John Barrasso, who, by the way, is linked to Project 2025. They are the chair and the ranking member of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Joe Manchin, whose family owns a coal company. He's a multi-millionaire because of his coal company. And in fact, he used his political clout years ago to keep open a coal plant that used the particular type of coal that his coal company sells so that his family could get rich. Anyhow, these two guys have introduced the Energy Permitting Reform Act of 2024, and it's right out of Project 2025. It quote, advocates, quote, limiting opportunities for communities to challenge projects, loosening oversight for drilling and mining projects, extending drilling permits, and fast-tracking liquid natural gas permits, and several other provisions friendly to fossil fuel giants, according to the National Resources Defense Council. These are nearly identical policies to what's proposed in Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation, they call it Unleashing All of America's Energy Reserves, and it includes ending federal restrictions on fossil fuel drilling in public lands, limiting investments in renewable energy, and rolling back environmental permitting restrictions for new oil, gas, and coal projects, including power plants. Manchin has been trying and failing to pass this kind of stuff for years. Brett Hartle, Director of Public Affairs at the Center for Biological Diversity, said that his quote, Frankenstein legislation is taken straight from Project 2025, and it's the biggest giveaway in decades to the fossil fuel industry. He goes on to say the bill deprives communities of the power to defend themselves and gives that power to big oil by making it harder for communities to challenge polluting projects in court, and prioritizes the profits of coal barons, like Joe Manchin himself, over public health. He goes on to say Monday was the hottest day in recorded history. It's shocking that as the climate emergency continues to break records around us, the Senate continues to fast-track the fossil fuel expansion that is killing us. This dangerous bill does not deserve a floor vote. And indeed, the 4 hottest days ever were last week. Global temperatures spiked to their highest levels in recorded history on Monday. This is a week ago Monday. As that happened, ambulances were screaming through the city streets of Tokyo, carrying scores of people who had collapsed amid an unrelenting heat wave, right? Sarah Kaplan over at the Washington Post. A monster typhoon has emerged from the scorching waters of the Pacific Ocean. Thousands of vacationers fled the idyllic mountain town of Jasper, Canada, ahead of a fast-moving wall of wildfire flames. She writes, by the end of this week, which saw the 4 hottest days ever observed by scientists, we're talking last week, dozens had been killed in the raging floodwaters and massive mudslides triggered by Typhoon Gami. Half of Jasper was reduced to ash, and about 3.6 billion people around the planet had endured temperatures that would have been exceedingly rare in a world without burning fossil fuels. Since last July, Earth's average temperature has been consistently 1.5 degrees or more above pre-industrial levels. What we're finding now is that because of this heat, forests are actually less able to pull carbon dioxide out of the air. Now that's called a negative feedback loop. This is where as the heat goes up, the ability to counter that heat goes down. I guess you could call that even a positive feedback loop, in that it's adding to the, and not a positive thing, a negative thing, but it's adding to the heat, right? Sea ice around Antarctica is at record lows. Coral bleaching became so extreme that scientists had to come up with a new scale for measuring it. And this is on the heels of 13 straight months of unprecedented temperatures. We got to do something about this. You know, Leo DiCaprio and I put together a video. You can find it over on YouTube. Just plug his name and my name into the YouTube search thing at the top, and it's the top thing that pops up. It's called Last Hours. And it's about what happens if we see a significant rise in ocean temperatures. I mean, the ocean temperatures around the Middle East, around Taiwan right now, are almost 3 degrees Celsius warmer than normal. That's radical. These are just extreme temperature shifts. And what we point out in the film, along with a number of the world's top climate scientists, is that during the PETM, the Permian Eocene thermal maximum. Now this was, I'd have to go back and look when this was. I'm sorry, I shouldn't quote the number of million years without knowing the exact number, but anyhow, this is not as far back as the Permian mass extinction, which was 249 million years ago. This was more like, something like 40, 50, 60 million years ago, something like that, maybe 100 and something. Again, look it up, fact check me. But during the PETM, there was a spike in global temperatures that seemed to have been a function of solar activity, actually, or changes in the Earth's orbit. And what happened was the oceans got warm enough, this is about a 5-degree spike, and the oceans got warm enough that these giant beds of frozen methane under the ocean that follow the continental shelves of all over the world, around all continents. This is where vegetation, seaweed, has died and rotted and converted itself into methane. This is what naturally happens when vegetable matter decomposes. It produces methane as methane gas as the consequence of that. And we call that natural gas. And these methane beds, they're called clathrates because it's methane that is frozen in water, in seawater. And so it's like a snow cone. It's like a slurry. And, literally, miles long, miles wide, multiple feet deep, hundreds of billions of tons of this stuff around the Earth. And if the water warms up to the point where this clathrate starts to, it's called dissociate, in other words, to melt and then just return from a solid state or a semi-liquid state back into a gaseous state, and then bubble out of the oceans into our atmosphere, then you see this sudden spike in temperature. And that sudden spike in temperature during the PETM killed something like 70 or 80% of all life on Earth. I mean, it just makes the planet uninhabitable for species like us. And of course, during the Permian mass extinction, it was even worse. That was a 95% killing off. They called it the great dying of all life on Earth. And that was caused, again, by the oceans warming up to the point where the clathrates, the methane clathrates, started to dissociate. This is referred to as the Clathrate gun hypothesis. And it's very controversial. It's not 100% accepted by scientists. But there's a lot of speculation around it, and it's clearly a very, very much worse case scenario. It's not likely to happen, but it could happen, and it has happened in the past, or appears to be that it has happened in the past. So Project 2025, these fossil fuel billionaires, the fossil fuel multimillionaires like Joe Manchin, these people don't give a damn about the fate and future of the human race. They just want as much money as they can get, as quickly as they can get it, so that they can live on their yachts and they can fly around in their private jets, so they can build their mansions and just have the kind of life that they want to have, and to hell with their children and their grandchildren. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. So what's on your mind? I'll pick up your calls on the other side of the break. Who do you think Kamala Harris should be picking for vice president? How do you think the race is going? Are you with me that this is going to be a blowout this fall?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
15 minutes past the hour. I'll be right back with your calls.